Do you know someone who has experienced depression? Or have you been down your own road of battling mental health? On today's episode, I'm joined with DeWitt, a brave human sharing his story of survival of depression. In sharing his story, as it may not be easy to do, he knows that it will help someone who may need it. David is a former staff editor at the New York Times and a soon-to-be former personal column editor at BioNews. He has a life coach practice called Go Your Own Way Coaching, with a passion for helping guide people through different moments in life. In this powerful conversation, we can all take away something from his story. The National Alliance of Mental Illness reports that 1 in 5 adults experiences some type of mental illness. Depression is an important illness spoken by some, but experienced by many. I hope this conversation helps you understand the struggle with depression and ways to either get help or support others in this position. On this episode, we touch on sensitive topics such as suicide. If this is a sensitive subject for you, please watch and listen to this episode carefully. We have listed resources to seek help and support groups in the description section for you to reach out to if needed. David, thank you for your bravery to share so openly and to trust me with your story. Let's learn. Welcome to the podcast, David. We're so excited to have you. Thank you so much for being on.
So glad to be here. Fellow
Yes.
Southern born that I am, and fellow BioNews soon-to-be alumni like you.
Yes,
We have a few things in common.
we do. Yeah. So just to start out, we met at BioNews. You edited my column, but you were a personal editor there. And now you've gone on to do your own thing and have your own practice, right? Life coaching practice.
Yeah, I've actually been doing it for about 18, 19 months now, but because my retirement is pending days away
Yeah.
as we speak, from BioNews, it's going to be going wide and full-time, and I'm thrilled, doing all sorts of preparations, and very excited about that because the journey to life coaching took a while.
Yeah.
Excuse me, but it feels really good.
Yeah.
Really good to be doing it.
Oh, that sounds so good. I can't wait to see how that goes for you too. So we'll put it in the show notes and stuff, but he has a coaching practice called Go Your Own Way Coaching. Am I right?
Right.
Awesome. Well, I know today's episode, we are here to talk about mental health, and you have been so brave to actually reach out to me and say you wanted to be on my podcast, which I said absolutely yes to. I just think you have such a powerful story, but one that will help anybody. I think we all know someone that's battled depression, or us ourselves have battled it. I have. Hearing somebody's story and somebody brave enough to come forward and talk about that, I truly think it's going to help a lot of people see depression in a totally different light. So I'm excited to get into it.
Me too.
Yeah. So let's go back to the beginning of your story. So if you'll take us back to the first time that you say, like, you saw the symptoms of depression, where did that all start for you?
I felt the beginnings of depression as a adolescent, and definitely by my teenage years. I had some pretty serious trouble that would last. The phases of it would probably last a little over a month. Sometimes only a couple of days, which is how I think most people experience sadness and mild depression with a 2 or 3 day stint. The clinical definition is that if you've had it for 2 weeks or more, I think is it. But certainly if you've had it a month or more, you've got clinical depression. And I think I had that certainly by my teens, in a couple of bad phases in my college years, and several times thereafter. The first real time I should have known something was pretty wrong. I just remember I went to a high school in Manning, South Carolina, and it's about a 200-person school in a very old building, so the hallways were always crowded. And I was a high-performing high school student, but I had days, especially my senior year, I would just be walking in the halls and just have this fantasy of seeing myself on the floor and just that I've fallen and I can't go on. Someone's going to have to pick me up and take me out of here. And I just can't be around people, and I can't do this. That was about as much consciousness I had of what was going on at the time.
How did you feel? Like, how, I know you said it's like deep sadness, but other than that, like, what were some other symptoms you'd say you felt in high school?
I'd say real depression, which I had at that point, I think goes beyond a sort of deep sadness to a conviction that I was fatally flawed, 16, holding up the facade of being okay was just had that fantasy. I want to fall down and just let myself fall down. I felt pretty ostracized from everything and everyone, and the duty to sort of keep going was just at the verge of being too much to bear. Now I did bear it then, and other times I would feel that way. I bore up to it until I didn't, which is we'll get to later in the story. I think I had a little of the of a sort of best little boy in the world syndrome, that I tried really hard to be a good and productive person as compensation for feeling like I was I don't know if we can use curse words here, feeling I was just a piece of shit. I was just convinced that was the truth about myself. And of course, no one can know that truth. And I had to compensate through displays of strength. And sometimes that fake it till you make it does work.
Yeah.
To a point.
Yeah.
And then it becomes clear you're being held up by, the flimsiest of Jenga stacks, that someone's just pulled one out and then it all goes crashing down.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to explain it. It sounds like it may have been like very just exhausting to you.
Yeah, I mean, in college, I would experience it as it's real exhaustion. Just that, God, I gotta get in the shower. Really? Okay, I'll make myself do this.
Yeah.
And for me, for most of my college years and when I had some significant problems, early 30s, I managed. I got through the bad periods, not without problems. One thing I discovered in college was that when I first tried to tell someone about I'm really not doing well, I didn't. I guess I knew the word depression then, but I wasn't very educated about it or about mental health in general. And this, growing up in a southern town, we just, at least at the time I grew up, which is a few decades before you, mental health just wasn't talked about.
Yeah.
Except for, when there was the hospital for the insane, the crazy people. And we knew of that. But regular mental health as we have today, with people talking about pretty freely about, I go to therapy and I take antidepressants. People talk about that pretty freely now, and that just wasn't at all the case at that time. So I didn't really have a barometer for where I stood. I knew that at least other people didn't seem to have the kind of problems I had. I thought I was just lazy. People don't realize that you can be incredibly productive and doing very well and still be majorly depressed. I mean, you look at people like, do you know the name, the one who played music for Ellen DeGeneres, who was so happy and was so
Yes, Twitch.
Yeah, Twitch, who committed suicide. And you would have thought he had it going on. I'm thinking of other Robin Williams' death by suicide meant a lot to me. And of course, now we know it was from Lewy body dementia that he had, and I guess he just very much feared living with that.
Yeah.
But he had been pretty open about having some real struggles. And can you get more high performing and able to mask it? And Robin Williams was able to. So, some people are so disabled by they can't mask. And I could, but I would have, the effort to sometimes to brush my teeth, to make myself get in the shower.
those small things were even hard to do.
Yeah, yeah. And the loneliness that would come through with that, because you couldn't really
Yeah.
tell people how you felt. Because, and as I was trying to say before, when in college I tried to tell a couple of friends. I mean, these people like me and I like them, but neither of them wanted to hear it at all.
Yeah.
One of them just sort of ghosted me, yeah, after that initial conversation, and one of them told me bluntly that I don't want to hear anything about that.
Wow. How did that make you feel?
Terrible,
Yeah.
terrible.
Did it make you want to hide and make it more of a secret?
Yes, very
Yeah.
much. And it made me all the more think, boy, I've got something essentially really, really wrong with me. And if
Yeah.
I don't cover it up real good, um, I'm not going to be able to function. Yeah, it was pretty hurtful. And at the same time, I understand it because, yes, depression isn't catching. And even today, we're very informed about the idea of depression,
Mm-hmm.
the actual mechanics of it, how disabling it can be. And especially when it gets really messy, when any sort of self-harm might enter the picture. I think most people really don't know how to react.
Yeah.
And that's where that, I need to distance myself from that comes from. And just to update a little bit, after college, I studied journalism and theater and several other things. I kind of tapped into lots of different disciplines along the way. But I was in journalism and ended up at the New York Times where I was an editor. In the summer that I had an especially bad go of it, there were times when I used to walk in, sit at my desk, and sob
Mm.
and sob. And the people around me who were my friends, who respected me, who may have been involved in whatever they were doing because it was a workplace, but some people surely noticed. I know that. Said nothing to me. And I think a lot of that was there was certainly unease that
Mm-hmm.
went along with that. And a lot of it was just trying to respect my privacy, or not embarrass me by saying, um, David, are you okay?
Yeah.
It was like if they called attention to it, it would become more real, um, or or they knew that give him a couple of stories to work on, he'll he'll work through whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I did until, like I say, I didn't.
Yeah. So how long were you at the New York Times?
18 years.
Wow. Would you say that you battled depression the entire time you were there?
No, not the entire time.
Okay.
I had phases of it.
Okay.
It several different times that lasted for, might last for 3 or 4 months and then left.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very busy, all the time because, as I mentioned, my other master's degree is in theater.
Mm-hmm.
I was living in New York. I was going to take advantage of that.
Yeah.
And for a while, I worked nights, and then once I worked days, I was pretty involved as a playwright first, and then as an actor, and busy, really busy, almost all the time.
Yeah.
So I was having a day job, then going to theater company meetings or rehearsals or whatever at night, and just doing this over and over and over again. I was very, very productive. And some of those times I was very, very productive. I was very, very depressed,
Yeah.
which is possible.
Which you put it on my radar, but I know we talked about high functioning depression,
Yeah.
which is what you said you have. Am I right?
Yes.
And when I looked it up, the definition that I found was it's a form of depression where individuals experience significant depressive symptoms but are still able to maintain their daily functionings and responsibilities. Would you say that's pretty accurate definition?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it certainly applied for me
Yeah.
for most of the time until, like I say, it sort of crashed. I, I think the first time I went to a therapist was I was 31.
Okay.
And I just saw him for a short amount of time. And then uh, I saw someone for a few sessions in my mid 30s. And then most of the time while I was in New York, not all the years, but most of them, I was seeing a therapist,
Mm.
which helped tremendously. At least now I knew, that I had some mental health issues. I mean, look at the statistics. Lots of people have serious depression.
Yeah.
Lots of people have mild depression that gets in the way of functioning sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's human to experience sadness. And I kind of want to make clear that a lot of the times it might have been just human sadness or difficulty or discomfort. And then it might be in a different level of,
Yeah.
where, okay, this is getting in the way of my functioning because it's making me isolate and do other things that aren't terribly healthy. It was interfering with my work days because I would be either I'd be so compulsive that when working on the copy desk, which is a group of editors, I worked mostly in the art section my last several years, and it I had to count up how much every editor on the desk did because I had to make sure I was at, if not
Mm.
most, I had to be close to the most because I
Yeah.
proved to myself that I was capable and could do this.
Wow.
And um, it was kind of compulsive and completely unnecessary, and got in my way of taking the time maybe I should have taken with some pieces.
Yeah.
Then other times I would be doing fine.
Yeah.
Other times I'd be falling behind, and I would just say I I can't concentrate. So
Because it was so in the way.
it's just different stages.
Yeah. So you started experiencing symptoms in high school,
Yeah,
middle school, high school,
yeah.
and then once graduating college. Did you start right at the New York Times after
Oh no,
graduating college
I
or?
went to I was at a paper in San Antonio, Texas. I quit to go back to. My intention was to move to Chicago to act
Hmm.
because that was a really happening theater town in the early '80s. And then I either got wise, got cautious, or got scared, depending on
Yeah.
your definition. So, no, I think I'll go to graduate school and get teacher certification. I wasn't sure at that time if I wanted to do journalism anymore. It was less that I wanted teaching certification in English and more that I wasn't ready to leave college, and
Yeah.
so I was able to get a couple of masters, while having the same assistantship for financial aid and such. After grad school, I taught at a small college for a couple of years in English, and then started a doctoral program. Got kind of broke. Thought I'd go back to journalism after all. I'm very proud of my journalism, my newspaper experience specifically, but that became a complication. All the way through the years at the New York Times, when which was a fairly type A atmosphere.
Hmm.
Most people there are feeling like they're on some sort of career ladder, ready to step to the next thing. And I
Yeah.
had mixed conflicts about that. Just a few years after I got there, I was doing backup theater reviews at a time that someone of my level of the paper wouldn't have been given that shot. And I had a couple of supervisors who really supported me. And I was so conflicted because I said, God, but if I do keep doing these reviews, I'll end up having to, I will have to give up my own theater work.
Yeah.
And so I was stuck.
Yeah.
Do I advance and take this opportunity, or do I hold back? And so I gave up that opportunity. There were other times I was offered promotions that I was just so ambivalent about. I couldn't
Hmm.
decide. And that was all because I really didn't want to move up,
Yeah.
or I didn't want to be there to most of the extent. I was just sort of getting by.
Would you say that your career kind of did it help the times where you had like depressive episodes to
So,
kind of have somewhere to go or something to do, or did it
yeah,
make it worse?
sometimes it very much
Yeah.
did because, and I think that's true of most people with mental health concerns, is that it's good to have some responsibilities. It's good to have
Yeah.
something expected of you because you'll find a way to rise to the occasion.
Hmm.
One of the things, tips I found now that I'm fairly healthy, I will say. No, take away the fairly. I'm healthy. Um, is that when you feel that negative feelings, depressive feelings going on,
Hmm.
I'll often think, okay, I need to fill up with
Hmm.
something else to occupy my brain.
Yeah, it helped. Yeah.
And that's a good, they in DBT or CBT calls it acting opposite to emotion,
Mm.
emotional management skill. And I think I was doing a lot of that.
Yeah.
without knowing exactly what I was doing. During this time, I had a sister who's gone now, so she it's okay to talk about. Had severe depression.
Mm-hmm.
Went into substance abuse issues, and she was disabled for mental health issues for a good chunk of her adult life. And
Yeah.
I have a grandfather, my father's father. My dad never called it, said my dad committed suicide, but he said my dad came to my brother and I one night and told us that, if something happens to one of your parents, it should be me. So, because your mother, you'll need to take care of you. And
Yeah.
the next day, when walking back from looking for work as a logger, and this was during the Depression, it was very hard for him, to come up empty. It's kind of accepted that he committed suicide. He stepped in front of a train,
Wow.
and from all descriptions, he stayed upstairs away from the rest of the family. He was, pretty distant from people and
Mm-hmm.
other things. I can kind of do armchair diagnosis from a distance and guess that, he was a pretty depressed fellow.
Yeah. So you would say that there was a history of depression in your family.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Clinical. I'm not saying situations in my life didn't abet it, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we have the raw material. My parents would have said, certainly once I got to adulthood, because I had childhood, they had issues, but once I got to adulthood, they thought I was handling things great.
Mm-hmm.
By the record, I seemed to be doing pretty well,
Yeah.
or coming from my background and everything.
Did you ever open up telling them that you were depressed, or were
No,
they ever shocked to hear that or see that side?
no, they never knew.
No, they never knew. Okay.
They both died before. Well, I mean, let's go ahead and say I tried to commit suicide in 2014. This is after a long, all this time of being Mr. Dependable.
Yeah.
At least, the facade was Mr. Dependable. I just had a breakdown one day, absolute breakdown. I was
Wow.
dissociated for a full day. There was no note because I wasn't thinking anything there was no plan, no logical sort of intent.
Yeah.
I was just so emotionally overwrought that I felt like, okay, this particular soul, the way it's inhabiting in the world,
Yeah.
my body and myself, doesn't work. It
Mm.
doesn't work. It hasn't worked. So let me throw it away and it'll go into the pot and be strawed around again and come out in a new lifetime, perhaps, that would be better. But this pain had to end.
Yeah. And that pain was you feeling like you just didn't need to be here in the world.
Right,
Yeah.
right. There was,
Wow.
I was fatally flawed.
Yeah.
That's the mind. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
learned that the mind is not your friend. The mind
Yeah.
wants to mess with you.
It's so powerful.
Yeah, yeah, and sometimes you really have to talk back to it pretty firmly.
Yeah. You
And
do.
notice that when your brain is going on a little loop saying you're so stupid, you're so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I would think I would have that going on and think, well, it's just benign. It's just my brain. It
Mm.
doesn't
It
matter.
means nothing. Yeah.
Yeah, but of course it does. I had just begun to grasp that maybe months before the suicide attempt happened, that this wasn't benign.
What you were hearing. And you were in therapy at the time, right?
Mhm. With a
During all of
really good therapist, a really good.
Yeah.
I had the just a couple months before the actual attempt, which happened September 30th, 2014. The In that June, I had I was going to therapy. I saw therapy in the morning before I went to work, and somehow I stopped in a church and was just having. It was one of those days having trouble putting one foot in front of the other and
Yeah.
making myself do it. And I was prescribed Xanax at the time, which not many people can get anymore. And I took like 14 of them and it wasn't a suicide attempt. It was just that it was the equivalent of my high school. I've just got to fall down. I've got
You
to fall.
can take any more.
Something's got to stop this.
Yeah.
Walked into his office and said, I just took 14 pills. And he said, David, I think it's time for a hospitalization. And I said, yeah, I do too. And he called the ambulance then, and I went to a first hospitalization, which I have to say was pretty traumatic.
Yeah.
Um, and acute psychological care, and when people come in just after having an issue like I did, the therapy and counseling is like to assess your risk to yourself. It's not really designed to let me get under your problems and help you get better. There's no time for that, you know.
Wow, you would think the opposite though. You would think that they're there for you to get better, like let's see what the underlying problem is, but you're
They
saying
don't have
that's
time for
really
that. Find
wow.
the right meds that will make you safe,
Wow.
which is a legitimate thing
It
to,
helps. Yes.
in given limited resources and limited time with a person, that makes
Yeah.
sense. But yeah, the real work of saying, why did I do this?
Yeah.
That wasn't the place for it. And so I got out, and it turns out that weekend we were supposed to drive to another state to get a new puppy. And I was figuring we were going to cancel that. And
Hmm.
my partner said, no, we'll go. And I said, well, okay, maybe it's okay to go. And I had anxiety attacks all the way down. When the window was open, and I thought, because we brought our other dog with us, when I thought there was a chance, I just kept seeing them jump out the window. And I would hyperventilate and was just really, really seriously distraught. It's amazing
Yeah.
I made it through that trip.
Wow. You telling your therapist that you just took 14 pills. Why? What do you think made you want to tell your therapist that you wanted help? Do you think that that was kind of your cry for
It was
help?
a way of, yeah, it was a cry for help. I mean, they
Mm.
called it a suicide attempt in the hospital, but it wasn't. It was a cry for help.
Yeah.
Or else I wouldn't have walked into the office.
Yeah.
It was my way of saying, I know we've talked about that I'm having trouble.
Yeah.
I want you to know this is the degree of trouble I'm having.
Mm.
Um, so I can make a logic of that. 3 months later, a little more than 3 months later, when I actually did made a serious attempt, there was no logic to it. I wanted
Mm.
it to be gone. I wanted this to end.
And we talked about the hospital stays. I know you said that it's not really what people think it is. Tell us kind of about that side of going into a mental institute and what, people actually think it is to what it truly is.
You
Yeah.
know, for instance, the first week after my attempt, I was in this after moved from intensive care and then into the psych ward in the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a different hospital, and it was much better. But again, it's designed for keeping you safe
Mm-hmm.
and not really for much else. That said, in this second hospital, there were some group therapy experiences and talks that were helpful just to be
Yeah.
around other people sort of in the same boat. Huge variety of conditions. It's certainly a very humbling experience,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you'd felt like you were a fairly high performing person who had been Mr. Dependable before,
Yeah.
and suddenly
Yeah.
you were not. But I was lucky because after the attempt and because the times was so great, went into full time outpatient work for 5 weeks, and that was pretty great. That was doing more to get underneath things, all within a sort of group therapy
Mm-hmm.
context. But we were all very helpful to each other.
Mm.
And you saw other people who had been very high performing, but oh my goodness, they're bipolar and extremely bipolar.
Yeah.
And and other people who had issues that they lived with and found ways to manage until they had times that they couldn't. That was all a very good experience. But yeah, that first acute care experience was pretty terrible, and I do think that if you go in for a week or so, be aware of what it can do and what it just can't.
Yeah.
My therapist and psychiatrist said after I got out that turned me on to the fact, and then I read about it, that acute psychiatric care is really troubled in this country. There is that keep them safe, patch them up, put them on heavy drugs, get them out.
Yeah. How long were you in there the first time you
First
went?
time, just a week, a solid.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
and the first 3 days of it, I spent basically in tears under one-on-one watch as a
Yeah.
suicide risk all the time. And then after that, there were some groups that met, but they were trying to meet a wide range of needs. so everything was sort of genericized out, that it wasn't
Yeah, in the
meeting
groups.
people's needs. Um, when you first go in, at least at this hospital, I went in on a weekend, so or a Friday, so wasn't until that Monday before I met the tribunal, I called it, where there's like 7 psychiatrists sitting in a semicircle around you, and there you are in the middle, and they're all accusing you. You're trying to say, I feel better. And for me, I was saying, no, it was not a suicide attempt and stuff like that. And they're all, accusing you. Yes, it was, because you did this and this and this, right?
Yeah.
And it's difficult.
Yeah.
And, other people might have had other experiences. I don't want to generalize.
Did you ever tell anybody when you got out, or I'm guessing like you had to miss work from those
Yeah,
times of being
I had to
in. So
miss
like,
work.
how was that?
And the Times was very good. My 2 immediate supervisors knew, and no one else did.
Okay.
And the I forget what the name of the office of it was part of HR, whatever, was incredibly concerned about my privacy. They talked to my supervisors before about me coming back, and to make sure he took it easy on me and all this stuff.
Yeah.
People knew I was out for a long time. For anyone else, you say, "Oh man, he had his almost heart failure. He's having to stay in the hospital for a long time."
Yeah.
You don't say, "Oh, he had a mental breakdown. He's,"
Yeah.
you don't say that. It's
Yeah.
not an equivalent thing. And
Mm-mm.
I think that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, is because why can't we say that?
Yeah.
And it's a complicated question, because for many people it is an issue of privacy, because you let out that you've had mental health problems to that degree,
Yeah.
and your career could be in jeopardy,
Yeah.
and you could be ostracized.
Yeah.
And I think that's a problem.
Yeah.
So I made a decision fairly early that I wanted to be open about it. That I felt like that was, and still every time I talk about it, there's an amount of shame involved.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of my identity had been invested in being Mr. Dependable, and I feel like I can never get that back. Never.
Yeah. I can see a lot of shame coming with it too. You edited my column that I wrote on my depression and what I've battled, just battling 2 chronic illnesses. And I never knew that I would go through that. Never thought that I would go through depression. But like you said, you feel isolated. And I remember writing that column and being so scared to put that out. But it was my truth. It was something that I had been through. And I know that I'm not the only person like you. I know I'm not the only person that's battled this. I know that I'm not. And I know that it's helping someone out there feel less alone.
Unmanaged and unspoken of and ignored, it destroys careers, it destroys families, it can be terminal.
Yeah.
It's not something to be ignored, and yet culturally and societally, we still do it.
Yeah.
I mean, we're comfortable with the idea of depression and people going to therapy now. But you get into the nuts and bolts of it, it's very difficult
It is.
for people to talk about.
I looked up some statistics too earlier because I wanted to know more on it too. And what I found, the National Alliance of Mental Health, they put out a statistic saying 1 in 5 adults experience mental illness. 1 in 5. And then I know we've also talked about high functioning depression, and 3.6% of adults experience high functioning depression for an average of 5 years. So
Yeah.
depression is definitely out there, and it's, from what I found also, it's higher in females compared to males. 16% of females experience compared to 10.1% of males.
Right. Some of that they think is that women are more prone to open up
Mm,
and to reveal themselves
yeah, and to say they've actually experienced it.
and to do the work necessary to get better,
Yeah.
to take care of themselves.
Are you happy you did the work?
Oh, very,
Yeah.
very. I'm very happy right now. Even the phrase, I'm content.
Mm-hmm.
And it took a while. I mean, it wasn't like it was overnight, like I reached this point of a breakdown and then all the pieces were put back together fine.
Yeah.
The pieces are still being put back together. But I've learned that for me, there's certain preventive self-care things I can do that can stop it before it gets its own hold and and then the mind again is not your friend, and you have to
Yeah.
deal with that. For me, that's been meditation, which I have a very strong meditation habit. Exercise, so important, better than any antidepressant, and there's research on that. I mean, it's
Yeah.
pretty supported. Exercise makes a huge difference. I started doing a gratitude list a few years ago, and my first reaction to the idea of doing this, that's so Oprah. I just I can't do
It is.
it. Isn't it? It is, but
It is very
pretty damn
Oprah.
great. So
I love a gratitude list, but yes,
yeah,
you're right. It's
I
such an
do. I
Oprah
do one
thing.
every morning. I do
Yeah.
a list of things I'm grateful for, and the things that a list I desire, because I think it's
Mm.
important for me to know what it is I want. Doesn't mean I'm going to try to get it or have to get it or anything, but just to notice what things I want is part of me being just more mindful and more aware. And there's several other things. I've got little expressions like I have that, like I mentioned. Go fill up with something else is something I say to myself. Another is I did Reiki training, if you know what that is,
Hmm.
hands-on energy work, and many years ago. And the man who was teaching it then was trying to talk about how don't put down Reiki. If you find it, if it somehow helps.
If it works. Yeah.
And his expression was that was the sort of Native American thing he was taught was don't piss on your medicine. And to me that means hey, if this works for you,
Yep.
don't diminish it, don't put it
Yeah.
down, practice it. And I try very hard to do that.
Yeah.
If I find something's working for me, I accept it and use it.
Yeah. Sounds like you have daily practices. So this is something you
Yes,
probably do every day.
every day.
If you miss a day, do you feel bad about it or do you just pick it back up? For anybody out there that may need to find something like
Pick
that.
it back up.
Yeah.
Pick it back up. It's with exercise, especially. Right now, I'm in this little phase where I haven't been able to exercise well because I've just been too busy.
Hmm.
I haven't made it the priority it should be. Um, so, but it's not like everything all the work I'd done before is. Oh well, God, I guess I failed at that too.
Yeah.
I don't go there.
You don't have that.
I
That's
don't go
good.
there. I don't think anyone should.
Hmm.
Now is the moment of power. Pick it back
Hmm.
up. Now is what matters. Go from now.
Wow, that's beautiful. Like I said earlier, I just think that everybody knows someone that has battled depression or them themselves have battled it. And I think this episode is just a good way to see what somebody truly goes through. Like you said, you've battled high functioning depression where you've had a career, I mean, an amazing career as an editor at the New York Times, and you've had your phases of depression throughout your career as well. For somebody out there that needs a place to start,
Mhm.
where would you tell somebody to start? Somebody that's battling depression and just doesn't know what the next day will hold or what to look forward to. Where do you tell them to start?
I would say first take yourself seriously. Take
Mm.
what you feel seriously because
Oh,
there's a,
that's so beautiful.
there's such an attempt to my word before diminish yourself and your feelings, especially negative feelings.
Yeah.
You need to
Yeah.
push that to the corner, and especially if you are able to be high functioning, you keep pushing that thing to the corner.
Mm-hmm.
If I offer any example, is that you can keep pushing it down is going to come up and
Yeah.
much more explosively than you think. So take your feelings seriously. Um, Certainly reach out to a therapist. I believe in talk
Mm-hmm.
therapy. I think it helps anyone. I think there's some people who are especially, it's an especially useful tool. Other people less so, but I think it helps everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
certainly if you're just in the beginning of phases of trying to be aware of your depression or anything else that's going on that you to have someone to sort it out with. It's useful to think about, well, why did this happen? And maybe you can identify a trigger like grief. Well,
Yeah.
grief is a real thing, and we all,
Mm-hmm.
it's a discomfort. You can't get rid of it. You know,
Yeah.
it's pain, and you have to live with it and work with it. But if it's reaching the point where you aren't able to function because of it, you need help. Get it. Don't let the stigma get in your way. I guess that's what I would say. So those are two really important steps. And then it really depends on the type of illness you have, because in the more extreme cases of mental health, people have borderline personality disorder. They may have type 1 or 2 schizophrenia. These things that people somehow manage, but it's certainly more difficult, for people there.
Yeah.
But I think for depression, a lot of people do confuse it with sadness, and so they think that again, it lets them diminish it and saying, I shouldn't be feeling this, or I'll just have to get over it and I'll just wait it out. Maybe that is what it is, but maybe it isn't, because depression is if we can see those other types of mental health problems as illnesses, why can't we see depression as also an illness?
An illness, yeah.
That can be managed. It is a manageable illness.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is mindset shifts where that is. I think just things like I said, this opposite to emotion thing that CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, tries to preach is also very useful. Of just when negative thoughts come up, rechannel your thinking quickly. And I want to make clear that, because I had people, like after the suicide, I had someone very close to me tell me, well, you just have to wake up and decide to be happy.
It's not that easy.
No, if you're really ill, you cannot do that. It's just not possible. And that's imposing a solution to something that is a very different problem than serious clinical depression.
Yeah.
At the same time, find something to look forward to, some small something to look forward to. It may be in 2 weeks you're going to see a family member you want to see. It may be you get to play tennis in a while and you like that. It may be I get to have a coffee break in an hour.
Yeah.
It could be whatever, but just to have something to look forward to, because that gives you that beginning inkling of hope for moments that can be better, and you can build on those moments.
Wow.
Until you can begin to compose a life that is, starting from the now and anticipating that things can be good. You have to imagine it before it can be it, in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to make sure I say within all this that I am not a mental health therapist. I am a person who has gone through some stuff myself, and that I am sharing not because it's fun necessarily, but because I believe very strongly we have to ease some stigmas. I think
agree.
that's the way for progress.
Yeah.
I am, however, a life coach now. And that is not someone who works with illness. That is someone who works from your wellness and from your strengths to build to whatever goal, dream, objective that you have. Now, part of that process for many people is having to do the thinking and sort of emotional work to decide what is it I want. Because sometimes it's very confusing what your priorities are, because we have a lot of shoulds on us that tell us we should be doing X, Y, Z, but that may not be what we really want. I call my practice Go Your Own Way, because I think that knowing your authentic self is where it starts. But sometimes we do have to go with the flow of the world. It's just the way things are constructed.
Tell us a little bit about Go Your Own Way coaching, what you have been doing there.
Thanks. I'm really proud of it and of the sort of journey I've had getting to this point. I did some coaching a few years ago when about the time I started with BioNews, really, and after lots of therapy, obviously. And I really liked how it started with my strengths and how it helped me. I wasn't looking at the past and problems to solve. I was looking at what I wanted and how to manifest it. And the dialogue that we've known is useful since Plato and is what coaching is based on is a great tool to help you sort out that stuff and organize. Just, okay, I want X. First off, I believe it can happen. Second off, what steps can I take? to get there. Oops, I'm running into some problem with step 3. Well, let's examine that. Why is it a problem? What what is this really not so much a problem, but a growth moment to figure out just what will take you to the next point in the journey. Maybe there's a strength you need to gain, a skill you need to practice that will get you to the next point. I started getting training for it because I wanted to be certified.
Yeah, that's so awesome to see your journey too, just of you battling your own depression, and then look at where you are now. Like now you're able to, and I know it's not focused solely on depression for your clients, but
Yeah, I'd
you're
say
able
not
to help
all.
other people.
you know,
Yeah.
but it's I think what I went through in my own mental health struggles has developed my compassion, my
Mm-hmm.
empathy, my attentiveness,
Mm-hmm.
and a presence, just being
Yeah.
present in the moment and in the now. Things that I've learned from either going through being struggling with depression or from the ways that I now, try to keep myself healthy,
Yeah.
mentally healthy as well as physically healthy.
Where are you now, like in your journey? I know when we talked, you said for the last 5 years you felt content and happy.
Yes, I
Would
have.
that be about right?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the difference?
I do feel stronger. I do feel more confident about things that I can do well. I'm more grounded.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more hopeful.
Yeah.
I'm able to be excited about things I want to do without them feeling like compulsions, like I have to get this done
Mm.
for some reason. I had a lot of broken experience with it over the years, but I was on this journey to figuring out what was healthy for me
Yeah.
early on, but it's just solidified more now. And I attribute that a lot to getting off the career ladder.
Mm-hmm.
Because that puts a lot of pressure on
Pressure. Yeah. The pressure.
that. Coaching can help, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't want to give the impression in this that I didn't have good years and good times
Mm-hmm.
along the way, because I did.
Yeah.
But there was always with the threat of when's the next round going to come up?
Yeah.
It's going to make things difficult.
Well, thank you so much for sharing. I think this is a really powerful story.
Oh, thank you, thank you, and just to thank you for spotlighting. All the people who have had illnesses and other things that they've
Yeah.
had to overcome that you've had on this show.
Yeah.
I'm glad mental health has had its moment.
Mm-hmm. It's an important one that I feel like needs this moment. So thank you
So much,
again.
Randy.